Thank you. Mr. Travis, listening to you talk about the IBLA and the information that I have practicing in that area, it reminds me of the book by Franz Kafka, The Trial. You just never know when you're going to be able to make it through the Leviathan of that process that's there. Mr. Whiteclay, I'm looking forward to the excitement of the development that you're looking at. Coal is the energy of the future, and I think that this is a fabulous opportunity for your tribes. So I want to thank Mr. Zinke for the work that he's done on that bill, the important bill for your tribe and your tribal members. Mr. Travis, thank you so much for being here and for being so supportive of this important legislation. I know that you've had to work with a lot of people whose cases have been stuck in front of the IBLA at their expense, and I appreciate the good work you've been doing on this, and we're grateful to have you here today. Have your clients had to pay significant legal fees while they wait for their cases to be taken up? And what have you observed regarding the personal and financial cost of the IBLA's broken process?
Yes, thank you, Congresswoman. Legal fees are expensive, especially when you're talking about a minimum of 3 years that you're before the IBLA before you can get out to district court. So yes, the legal fees are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, and folks are just stuck in that process.
There's no consequence, no accountability from the agency itself for forcing people into that kind of a never-ending doom loop, is there?
No, and we've actually gotten documentation from the agency that that's one of their strategies. So the agency will say, let's just get this, let's make a decision, because we know when they get to IBLA, it'll be stuck there for 3 years and they won't get a decision. So agencies use that. Wow,
what a broken process. What an absolute broken process. And so contrary to our form of government. The IBLA claims to resolve a significant number of cases each year, about 270, which would be about 22 cases per month. And according to your testimony, but is the IBLA misleading people regarding these claims? And if so, how are they doing that?
Yeah, I think there's a distinction to be made there between resolving claims and deciding claims on the merits. So, as I mentioned, the IBLA has over 600 cases before it. They decided just 36 on merits. So, if they were to decide all the cases on the merits, we're looking at about 20 years to get out of that process. The cases that you mentioned that they decide, that 200 number, are on technicalities, on things like not filing in time, not paying a fee in time, things like that, not on the actual merits of a case.
So it sounds like we've got a lot of problems with the IBLA, and my bill is to address some of them specifically related to the time constraint. Are there other ways in which we need to try to fix the IBLA if it's actually going to be a functioning adjudicatory body?
Yeah, I think any time you've got a body that is statutorily constructed instead of through the normal legal process, you're going to have problems. Essentially, you're hoping that an agency created by the government is going to rule fairly between the government and another party, and so I do think broad reform is needed there across the board.
So my experience has been with ALJs as well, and the SEC and FTC are two agencies that are very abusive in terms of using ALJs. I think that they have a 95% plus success rate in front of their independent ALJs, while maybe a 60 to 65% success rate in front of an Article III court. And I think you really just hit the nail on the head. Sometimes we look at reform and we think that we can fix this, but the reality is that these supposedly intentionally independent agencies or appellate adjudicatory bodies are actually extremely biased towards the agency that they allegedly oversee. Isn't that true?
Yeah, I think so, and I think we see that not just in federal government, but in state government as well. I can tell you my experience in practicing in the other states is before an ALJ, you're likely to lose 90+% of the time.
That's right.
When you actually get to court, if you get a fair shake at de novo review, your odds are 50-50.
So just going back to the brass tacks of what that means is that the IBLA and these ALJs really are a violation of the fundamental constitutional right to due process, because you're not getting due process. You're having to take your appeal to the very agency that made the decision in the first place. And I think that this speaks to a broader issue in terms of regulatory reform across the board, which is getting quite a bit of airplay since the election. But the reality is that we've stacked the deck against the citizens and businesses of this country, and we've stacked it in favor of a federal government that's too powerful, too big, too expensive, too much willing to go into debt, and too ready to do the kind of deficit spending that we've seen over the last 20 years especially. So I think this is an important discussion. This bill is an important first start. Thank you for being here to testify on it, and with that I yield back.